If I did get a question, I would have asked Trump. Mr. Massey has said that no airstrike will overshadow the Epstein files. Are you trying to change the conversation, Mr. President? Welcome back to the Tara Palmeri Show. The House Republicans are holding their retreat right now in Florida, in Miami, at President Trump's Doral golf course. Quite beautiful. I decided to go there so I could get a real finger on the pulse of what they're saying behind closed doors, how they're really feeling coming into the midterms. They feel about the fact that the president has just entered into a war in which he doesn't know when it will end. All he can say is that it will end soon, but is not giving any exact dates or timeline. I was there for President Trump's first press conference since he announced that there would be a war, since he announced the war. And he took a few questions, but he pretty much shut it down when he was asked about the fact that 7 servicemen had died as of the time of that press conference and how many lives will be lost in this. And, it was a really historic day. And yet he didn't have a lot of answers. He really didn't. He was asked about whether the Tomahawk missiles that struck a school full of 7-year-old girls, if those were American missile, if that was an American missile. And he said he doesn't know, could have been Iranian. He's the president of the United States. You can bet that he knows. And, I wanted to talk to members and staffers at the bar and find out, what are they really thinking when they hear President Trump say, I will not sign another bill unless you pass the Save America law. And that is the one that requires voter identification, because he believes in massive voter fraud and drastically pulls back mail-in voting. So it's unlikely to pass in the Senate, but I felt, I had to ask them, how does that work for them when they so desperately need to show their constituents that they've done something in this do-nothing Congress, that they are addressing the affordability crisis in some way? And how do they feel when they hear something like that, where he's basically saying that if this bill isn't passed, he won't give them anything, not even a shred, not even a breadcrumb to come home with. So I've got Juliegrace Brufke on the show. And as you'll hear from our conversation, we were both there at the press conference, at the president's speech. And then we talked to members and staffers afterwards to hear what's the inside scoop. I think you will find it interesting. It's a matter of what they say, what they meant, and how nervous they are as they walk off the plank into the minority. Take a listen here. Welcome to the Tara Palmeri Show. In the Red Letter meets Juliegrace Brufke, our favorite congressional correspondent. Juliegrace and I, hey, thanks for joining. We're kind of doing a debrief right now from last night. We were both at the Congressional Republican Retreat in Doral, Trump's luxury golf course in Florida, where all of the House Republicans, not all of them, actually the showing was okay, but many of them were there to listen to him talk for like an hour. Big, long, winding speech, which obviously overshadowed all of their priorities. But we want to give you a feel for the real conversation in the room and what everybody was talking about. Juliegrace, what do you think?
So, last night we heard from Trump. We're probably missing a good chunk, almost a good chunk of the members aren't here. So it's, but from the ones I've talked to, they thought the speech was, it was a Gerald Trump speech. So far, most of the members are like, this is kind of our general conference meeting, but in Florida, I think things might get a little spicier later. But it's kind of been some bickering over whether to do another reconciliation bill ahead of the midterms, which I just talked to Jason Smith, the Ways and Means chair, who told me he was kind of getting a lot of pressure from some more conservative members on it, and they don't want something divisive ahead of the election. But he was like, I'd like to see it, but I'd also like to look like Brad Pitt. So that I think those are similar ops. So we're not worried about that, even though Mike Johnson's really been kind of pushing for another giant sweeping bill to kind of push their priorities through. So we'll see.
Yeah, they haven't really accomplished much at all in the past 2 years. So I could see how some of these frontliners would love to actually have something to show, or at least to show that they're doing something to fix the economy. But this is what I felt. I felt there was a dread and an impending doom from everyone I was talking to at the bar. They know they're walking up to a cliff. They know they're going to lose. And it's just, now they're sort of, I guess they're in that stage of grief where you've reconciled with everything. They're in acceptance, and that men will fall off the cliff. They will lose the House, but they say, listen, it's not going to be the shellacking that we've seen in the past. It's not going to be 87 members lose their seats because of redistricting. Like, they stitched it up so that it will not be a bloodbath come November of 2026. And so I think they're all sort of resigned to the fact that, like, large majorities just, like, don't exist anymore because of how they have redrawn our maps.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, publicly, when they go on TV, they have to say they're going to win majority. But I mean, I feel like leadership jockeying for minority leaders already kind of started to kick off, and that'll heat up more as the elections go on. And I mean, I think right now they're kind of, I mean, with redistricting, I think big majorities for either side are gone for a long time. So it's kind of just trying to cling to what they have. And I know with like gas prices right now, that's a concern. The state of the economy, that's a concern. So a lot of these frontliners are just kind of in a spot where they're definitely a little worried about what's going to happen for them in November with not a ton of confidence in some of these seats.
Yeah, I thought it was funny when you were telling me that, like, because they have such, like, a razor thin majority. I mean, they are literally checking on the health of a member in Florida who's, like, an older man that may die. They're, like, checking
Yeah.
on his health stats every day. And then there's Gonzalez, who obviously had an affair with a staffer who killed herself, sadly. And they're like, "Well, what do we do with him?" You know what I mean? Like, that's a guy you would normally toss overboard right away, but you lose those 2 seats. And, like,
We see that, and you've got Corey Mills who's embattled, and then Wesley Hunt who just lost his primary. Dan Crenshaw just lost his primary. I mean, you figure by July everybody's just in full campaign mode, and what are they really going to get done? But getting attendance, and I mean, I feel like for Mike Johnson right now, it's definitely like a huge issue. I feel like I'm just trying to kind of get these people who are already lame ducks to show up for work. So it's getting
yeah,
anything passed. I feel like it's going to be with attendance in and of itself, let alone like major policy fights in
right.
uphill.
Yeah, and I think it was, like, funny you said something like how they joke that, like, give the Dems the House back before the midterms, and maybe they can start impeaching Trump, and then actually they'll have a chance at winning the House.
I did have an operative that was joking about that. He's like, maybe it's the move, but I mean, doubt they're going to do that. But it did kind of crack me up that that was a floated strategy of maybe their best chance of clinging on there.
Is if the Democrats actually become the majority and impeach Trump before the
And then,
midterms.
yeah,
Yeah.
that might be our best messaging.
Yeah, that would be the best thing to ever happen to them, ironically. Uh, Trump, you know, I found it to be, I why you get to this point sometimes where you become so blunt, like, dull, I guess, to him, and he's dulled by what he's saying, but, he did say, "I will not pass any of your bills unless you pass the Save America Act,"
He did.
which is Voter ID Act.
We definitely hear him say that, and I mean, he's gonna have
That's
to put some
shocking.
chunk in the wall 'cause we're gonna need some things to run it on in the midterm, so it's I mean, we'll see if that actually happens. I'm doubtful, but, I mean, they're definitely trying to strong arm that through the Senate, and we've heard Ken Paxton say that he'd drop out of the race if they remove the filibuster for that over there and pass it through, so, I mean, I doubtful that happens. I think there's enough Republicans on the Senate side that don't want to get rid of the filibuster for something of that nature because, I mean, majorities flip and they know that that could come back to bite them down the line. So, I mean, we'll see how, I mean, we've seen some bills get passed shows since they've had the majority in both chambers that I was doubtful to get through both sides. So, they're good at strong arming people, but I feel like the odds of that happening are 0 to none. If I put it
Yeah.
my
And let's just remind everyone who's listening what that act calls for. It's the voter ID law, and it also severely restricts mail-in ballot voting. So, that's a huge way to overshadow what the Republicans right now need, which is to pass some legislation that acknowledges the affordability crisis in this country.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a huge Trump priority, and it already passed the House. They did get some mods on the House side to back that, which was kind of a uphill climb for them initially. But I mean, I think the odds of that getting through the Senate are low as of right now.
Right. Okay, so we were both there at Trump's presser. The first time he has spoken to the press, like, well, not spoken, he's taken questions along the way, but the first time where he's taken questions about the war in Iran since he declared war in Iran. And, he seemed to be trying to wiggle his way out of the war. He said it was going to wrap up really quickly, but wouldn't give us a time frame. I thought it was amusing that he said that not amusing, but interesting, maybe is a better word, that he said that there was distance between him. He acknowledged distance between himself and JD Vance on this. He said that JD Vance was less enthusiastic, but then he was like, well, no, he's actually very enthusiastic about the war. And I was also surprised too when like Trump said, we're gonna work to make sure that oil can flow through the Strait of Hormuz. It's gonna help the Chinese. Like, why do you care about helping the Chinese?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely an adversary. So that was kind of, but I do think the JD part of the presser was kind of struck me as the most interesting thing he had out of that whole lineup. And I mean, I feel like he was kind of saying there wasn't going to be nation building while there would be nation building, which I think was also kind of the big thing that kind of stuck out to me, which I feel like the whole Republican conference is kind of divided over what to do over there. So it's
yeah, it really did.
was also kind of completely conflicting with what the Pentagon had put out of this has all just begun, where in that speech he was like, we're almost done with this war in Iran. So it's yeah,
we're almost done. We don't know when, but we're almost done, which conflicts also with what Pete Hegseth said.
It's a little touch and go with where things stand, but yeah.
We wouldn't say whether he is like targeting the new Khamenei leader, the new supreme leader. So Mojtaba Khamenei, he has not said whether he's going to try to take him out. What was the most disturbing thing to me was that he said that he does not know if it was our Tomahawk missile that hit the school of over 100 7-year-old girls in Iran. And I mean, how, as president of the United States, do you not know if it's our Tomahawk missiles? He's saying, oh, other countries have Tomahawk missiles. Iran has their own Tomahawk missile. Why would Iran send a Tomahawk missile into its own school?
I mean, I'm sure that all of his intel, they've got to have that information. But it's it's so tragic that it happened. And I feel like it's unclear whether that's going to be seen as a war crime by other nations there, or whether, given that they were trying to target something else, how that all kind of shakes out. But yeah, I mean, clearly the imagery there of what happened is so sad and tragic.
It's the first day of the war, and that is what you do.
It's
if that's not a sign of their preparedness, just the way they're handling this, it feels like they were pushed into it, and he kept saying they were going to bomb us first, and it's like they were so close. And I'm sorry, but Republicans have been saying this forever, that Iran is this close, weeks away from a nuclear weapon. For how many years have they been saying this?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like it's been interesting to kind of just see how social media with the Republican base kind of played out on this. If we didn't vote for something, a Bush 2.0, and I feel like it's not particularly popular with voters. So I mean, if this drags on, from a political standpoint, I don't see how this is really going to be helping them moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, like, how are frontliners talking about this to you, about the war in Iran?
Well, it's like, I feel like you've got some of the more neocon ideological members that are okay with it. And I mean, and you see, he's definitely targeting Thomas Massie, definitely not a moderate, but I mean, he's targeting him, and he's probably been one of the most outspoken members against all of this, and kind of accusing him of using this to overshadow all the Epstein stuff, which was kind of Massie's take on all of that. But
I was going to ask him about that if I got a question. Unfortunately, there was a very tall woman in front of me. But if I did get a question, I would have asked Trump. Mr. Massie has said that no airstrike will overshadow the Epstein files. Are you trying to change the conversation, Mr. President? And no one's asked him that yet. Why hasn't the White House press corps asked him that yet?
You got to come up to Washington and come do a day in the briefing room.
Busting through. You better let me in.
Picking the right medical coverage is stressful. So if you or someone you love is on Medicare, you really need to pay attention here, because it's confusing at times. And I actually think it's on purpose. Well, Chapter has unbiased, independent Medicare advisors that are salary-based. They're not looking to waste your time. In fact, they can scan through tons of plans in under 20 minutes, and they'll tell you if the one you have is the right one, or if you can save money as much as $1,100. That's the average that people save. And the best part is it's totally free. It's a great way to find a plan that fits your needs. So for free and unbiased Medicare help, dial 305-515-5237 to speak with my trusted partner, Chapter, or go to askchapter.org/Karen.
Somebody some troll on my page was like, how did they let you in? And I was like, please, people. I used to be a White House correspondent, okay? Um, yeah, no, it makes me sad that, like, I guess if you ask that question now, they could, like, rip your press badge away and, like, punish your company, and then you get fired. It's, like, such a different time, I guess.
It's definitely a different world. I mean, kind of seen, I mean, with the Pentagon doesn't really let most people into the briefing room these days. So it's definitely different vibe than other admins of the past.
I mean, look what they did to the Associated Press. They wouldn't call it the Gulf of America, and then they, are their entire company suffers because of it. They're not allowed in the press room. I mean, into the Oval Office anymore. They're not in the pool. It's absurd. I mean, the stakes are so much higher, which is why it's so great to be independent journalists and having worked in corporate media for a very long time. Like, I don't think you can really cover this administration without a level of independence. It's just the weight of the corporations hanging over your head, the fact that they're merging right now, CBS, CNN, Time Warner, like, it's just too much.
I mean, the landscape's so different than when we were first getting into this and coming up in this business for sure. It's
Yeah.
an animal.
Do you wanna
We get a little more leeway, but I feel like covering the admin's its own beast, which has definitely shifted a lot.
I know. You were talking about that there's, like, already some leadership plays going on right now. I mean, Mike Johnson's obviously not gonna be speaker, but, like, do you think he'll be minority leader? Are people happy with him? I feel like he was the most limp-wristed minority leader of ever.
I mean, I've talked to some people that I feel like they feel like Jim Jordan's starting to make moves. They're speculating whether everyone else in leadership or whether, I mean, if it does turn out to be some type of bloodbath, if it's just like a clean slate, we need a whole new, fresh team. So I think that those talks are kind of starting early, but I mean, it's still early. There's a lot of knife fights that, I mean, we saw last time around with both Kevin McCarthy ouster and Speaker's Race 1.0 of how many people have just were kind of lining things up there. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see something similar this time around, but you really need 50% plus one for minority leader. So it's I feel like people kind of trying to mend past feuds starting to happen now. I was out earlier grabbing lunch with some sources that were telling me that some of the bad blood where they're starting to see some of these members that are kind of ambitious on moving up the ladder, trying to smooth things over. So I think we'll see a lot more of that. And it's going to be interesting to kind of watch who's campaigning for who and out on the trail as things kind of start to heat up, which I feel like is always a big indicator on who's going to run.
What do you mean bad blood? Like, what's the story there?
It's like, I mean, we saw last time around when Steve Scalise was there and then Jim Jordan was kind of knifing him out. And then we saw with Jim Jordan, all of the Scalise allies weren't willing to vote for him. And then, I mean, we went through Tom Emmer where there was some of the hyper conservatives who didn't want to vote for him over his gay marriage vote. And so, I mean, I feel like there's trying to bridge some of those divisions and find somebody they can all unify around. Watching it last time, I mean, we'll see. I mean, if they miraculously keep the majority, I feel like it'd be hard I feel like Mike Johnson probably stays on if that's the case. But I haven't talked to anybody that's been super confident about them holding on to the majority thus far.
Yeah. The thing I think about, though, is Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, I don't hear a lot of Democrats being like, he's doing a great job. I watch him on TV. You watch him. You know how he operates. I don't particularly think he has, like, the strongest team around him. I don't feel like he's done a really great job as just even a communicator, because, like, that is all you really are in the minority. You're supposed to be punching the whole time. And I don't know. I mean, is anyone trying to usurp him before he has the opportunity to step up into speakership?
So I've talked to a lot of Dems on this who have been like, I would feel like he needs to be leading more on messaging, that they don't feel like they really have a message right now. I feel like divisions in the way that we've kind of seen Republicans bicker over things are starting to break up out into public on the Dem side on issues like Israel and different economic things and ICE. And I feel like their infighting's kind of starting to become more public, but I know there've been some frustrations. He's much more introverted than some of the other leaders in the past, where like he's not huge on going to fundraisers and that sort of thing, where it's not what he's super passionate about. Where I feel like there's a lot of people who feel like he's a really good orator, but they don't know. I mean, Nancy Pelosi's shoes are going to be tough to fill for anybody, but I know there have been some concerns on that. But I haven't heard any names floated yet of anybody that's like outwardly going to try and challenge him. So we'll see as things kind of get closer if who's going to be trying to climb on that end. But it's I know there've definitely been some frustrations.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of frustration with Nancy Pelosi because it felt like she was the one who picked him. And it's like, well, he was never a good fundraiser. He was never a good communicator. Was she just choosing someone she thought could be a puppet while she was there? And now she sort of left them with a leadership vacuum that, like, arguably could have been filled by Adam Schiff, who I would say was also her pet, but probably a stronger leader.
I mean, I haven't talked to her about that personally, so I'd have to do some more reporting on how she's feeling about things. But I've seen her. I mean, she's made some public comments on frustrations with messaging. So, I mean, we'll kind of see how she kind of ushers him in as they look pretty confident they're going to take the majority on. But it seems like she's kind of served as a little bit of a Sherpa of trying to show him the ropes of. I mean, she was such a prolific fundraiser, and I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see from like a political standpoint, watching her covering her of an adept politician. I feel like watching her and Mitch McConnell back when he was in power were just of people who just had a grasp on their caucuses. I'm not sure we'll ever see that again in my time with the way
Yeah.
things are now and rule changes. But she's a tough act to follow, love or hate her politics. So I feel like anyone kind of coming behind her is going to be difficult, but definitely some early frustrations with Jeffries.
Yeah. I guess you're right. And Democrats aren't really like Republicans. They don't sharpen their knives every time there's a leadership fight and like kill their leaders. I mean, they get eaten up for breakfast. They just cycle through them so quickly. And that Kevin McCarthy, that bloodletting was pretty epic, and it was all brought on by Matt Gaetz. I mean, it's insanity, right? When you think about it now.
It was a wild ride. I mean, I feel like we saw Dem coups with Pelosi. It was like Seth Moulton back in the day, but I feel like it was a lot of people who managed to kind of like extract gavels and stuff, and she was able to strike deals where it seemed less. Their coups have seemed less messy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'd have to think that, like, I know you were saying a lot of neocons, Republicans are fine with the war in Iran, but the gas prices rising, troops on the ground, like even Trump, you saw that. The last question he got was 7 men have died. When are too many troops killed enough to end this war? And he basically shut down the press conference after that. He very rarely shuts down press conferences. It's
I mean,
obviously, yeah, this is a problem.
I feel like Republicans, I feel like their messaging for a long time has been strong defense and strong economy. So I feel like definitely gas prices, rising inflation, that's a huge problem. And I mean, we're over a year into the presidency. It's hard to blame Democrats for that at this point. So
They'll try, and they do, but yeah, it's pretty much impossible.
So yeah, well, we'll see kind of how which is something when I'm doing interviews later, chatting about messaging on how they're planning to fix that. I feel like is definitely high on my priority list on trying to see how they're going to navigate that. Because I mean, the tariffs aren't super popular with a lot of people, and I mean, it's another thing I've heard a lot of members publicly kind of praise and then privately have a lot of grievances with. So I feel like prices at the grocery store, yeah, I mean, with gas prices, that'll probably go up even higher. So I feel like people vote with their wallets, so it's going to be an issue if things don't drastically change.
Right. Yeah, I think this is going to be bad. And I think, if more men die, he's saying they're talking about, sending boots on the ground. He's talking about the fact that, like, we could face a terror attack here. I don't see how the whole party as a whole takes a beating for that. Um, it's terrifying. And he doesn't have a lot of answers. I didn't get there were no answers for anything at that press conference.
Yeah, and I feel like it was a relatively short press conference for him. I think he's supposed to do another briefing today back in Washington, but I feel like there's definitely a lot more questions on how things are going to pan out, given some of the mixed signals on what's ultimately the long-term plan there.
So if you could tell all of our listeners if they could take away one or two sentences from this congressional retreat, how are the members really feeling? What are they leaving with?
I mean, right now, I feel like everyone's kind of enjoying the weather right now. And it's, I mean, kind of essentially like their giant weekly conference meeting down here. But I feel like right now, I feel like figuring out whether they're going to be able to like push another giant bill through their priorities, with all their priorities, the reconciliation without needing 10 votes in the Senate, which I mean, moderates don't want it. And I feel like the big messaging from leadership is we're going to need this. But giant fights ahead of the midterms aren't something that I feel like a lot of them privately they're trying to avoid that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
There's like a giant push from the Freedom Caucus to definitely try and push something through. But yeah, I feel like that's kind of been the main focus on trying to figure out some policy stuff ahead of November.
And they're totally happy with the leader.
It's wait,
They
what'd you
won't
say?
even say it. They won't even admit that oh yeah, Trump is long-winded or anything like that. They're so afraid of him.
I mean, I feel like talking to them, I feel like a lot of them would like speeches to be a little shorter, but I feel like last night it was typical Trump speech. They were like, we enjoyed it. It was kind of the overarching messaging that I took away from everybody coming out of there.
Blunted, desensitized, traumatized, PTSD. Okay. Julie Grace, enjoy the rest of the retreat. I may see you. I may head over there again and see you tonight.
Happy hour. So
Yeah, I'll come back for happy hour, get the scoop, bring some back for all of you who are listening. As always, you can support us both and our independent journalism by hitting the subscribe button and supporting our independent journalism. The Red Letter, Juliegrace Brufke, meet after hours to discuss, after hours, to discuss, everything that's going on the Hill, the real conversation. And we appreciate you guys tuning in. And yeah, subscribe, like. Thanks to my producer, Dan Schiffmacher, Abby Baker, my intern who showed up ready to meet sources, break news, and everyone else. So, bye. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Tara Palmeri Show. You can help me by just hitting that subscribe button, sharing this with your friends, following, liking, sending some comments. It means the world to me. I have just hit my 1-year anniversary at the Red Letter. It started on, I guess, this time last year on Monday, March 9th. It was a really big moment for me when I hit send. And you guys have been with me all along. Some of you have been with me all along. Some of you are new, and welcome. Thank you to all of you. It really means the world to me. And of course, you can support this independent journalism by going to tarapalmeri.com. That's TARAPALMERI.com. You can sign up for my newsletter, The Red Letter. It's where you can get my exclusive reporting straight to your inbox. And it's a great way to support independent journalists like me by becoming a paid subscriber. I want to thank my awesome team, Dan Schiffmacher, my producer, Abby Baker, who's also producing, booking. She does research, social media, everything. We've got Dan Rosen, my manager, and Adam Stewart does graphics. See you again soon.